Howdy and hello. Today we're ranking a bunch of stuff in Pragmata. The weapons, the hacks. We'll see exactly how much stuff goes down. There'll be timestamps down below, and this is mostly just an excuse to talk about the game, so don't take the ratings too seriously. It's a really fun game, by the way. Hashtag not sponsored. We'll begin with the weapons. Shockwave Gun, aka a shotgun. You get up close, you hack something, expose it, go for a weak spot, and dish out some disgusting damage, regardless of difficulty. I'm on Lunatic here, New Game Plus, shredding bosses, destroying pretty much every mob. A few exceptions exist, and sometimes I don't understand the science behind landing the proper shots, because there's some finesse involved here, right, folks? And there's also some examples in which it's not the best. For instance, when you're facing the Garden Keeper, the scorpion feller with a tail that's interesting to dodge, that dude is difficult to hit the undercarriage weak spot on when it's exposed. But for anyone that you hack and then can stun with your overdrive, for instance, you just bring this up close to their noggin, anything you can actually hit clearly, cleanly, and you just unload damage, eviscerating their HP at a pretty wild rate. I think it's one of the tried and true weapons in the game. It's just reliable, and to me, it is S tier. Hacking mines. You deploy a very short-range sphere you can then hack with a very easy pattern, just a T for the most part, and once it's activated, it pulsates very quickly and then goes to a moderate interval. This, if it hits enemies, will expose them and also apply any of the hacking nodes that you activated it with to those enemies for the entire duration of its existence. And if you have multiple ammo for the hacking mines, you can create pretty much a conga line and chain them together. And once you create a link with these mines themselves, it will pulsate dang near instantly. This gets ridiculous because just the fact that you have the persistent expose is awesome. But if you combine decode, expose, the hacking node itself, with, let's say, chain, that is a lot of burst damage. Just continuously hitting for 3,000, if not more. You can also do an AoE thing, which is going to be kind of the same thing. Decode, expose, multi-hack. The multi-hack itself will hit things that are pretty much nowhere near the hacking mine, as long as one enemy is getting hit by the hacking mine. And if you want to confuse enemies, multi-hack, confuse, and expose or decode. The stuff you can do gets to be ridiculous. It's fantastic for boss fights. It is redonkulous for AoE horde clear. And if you want to just live and be a tank, you can go drain. Every time it pulses, you get healed for something like 400 HP. Continuously. You can be getting the break speed off you senselessly and be healed. It's honestly hilarious. I did not recognize the power of this item until I was like 30 hours into the game. And once I learned that, I started to, kind of abuse it a little bit. Just a smidge. And I can say with certainty, it is pretty much the best weapon in the game. More or less. Lim Cannon, the rarest weapon in the game, considering it requires a full playthrough and then completing Unknown Signal afterwards, which takes some time, but it might be worth it. You charge your shots using Lim or Lunafilament, the currency you upgrade weapons with, and this can be unleashed once you see yellow to send out a special bullet that I believe increases damage, but also increases Lim drop rate. And that bullet itself has massive AoE and deals ridiculous damage. You can upgrade it to level 8, but I go level 7 because at that point you have triple charge mode. And just with 2 charges, I hit for 15,000. And on the final boss, I believe on New Game Plus Lunatic difficulty, I hit this boss for something like 75% of its HP with a triple charge shot. That is bonkers. So if you want a gun that deals pretty much the most damage in a single shot outside of the cannon, like the freaking space chase, this is pretty much your only option, or this is the option. For that reason, I give it S tier. Charge Piercer. When you're charging the weapon, you'll see a flashing light. If you let it go, as soon as it flashes, it does a bit extra damage. From what I can tell, roughly 25% more damage. That's cool. Damage output can be pretty useful. It is ideal on the worm boss because you're hitting the mouth for 13,000, at least in my situation. That's awesome. I still hate this weapon with a passion, though. It is F tier. If you go and do the training simulation and you're having to sit there and pierce the enemies, if you're paying attention, you will... Well, maybe it's just me. Could be a skill issue. But the shots, they don't hit. You will hit something directly head on, maybe the side, and the bullet doesn't do any damage? That makes no sense. Its power and piercing effects dramatically increase. Piercing effect, I'm getting rolled by a random freaking flying wally bot. I'm getting destroyed by a helicopter Roomba. It's just impervious to my damage. I was losing my mind. There was no weapon in the game that essentially filled me with rage. I'm not going to say it like this. Nothing did that except this. This was the only weapon where I'm like, what the heck am I using? How is it just doing no damage? Photon Laser. Imagine the god hand from Dauntless, rest in peace, but you can ramp up the damage of the beam by simply shooting it. Not having to hit anything, but firing the weapon itself will increase the damage. And you can then upgrade it to increase the hit interval or tick rate of that damage to give yourself some rather nasty DPS, as long as you maintain the beamage, which can be a bit difficult, but it's very fun and rewarding to use when done correctly. It mainly relies on actually dodging boss attacks if you're using it in those situations. I think it's B tier. Jackhammer, a melee weapon that hits 3 times, usually with impact frames for every single hit, and you can go into a follow-up attack that's a beam with some okay range that you can sit there, pivot, and aim at things that are getting close. It is the sole reason I replayed the game in the first place, to try and see and experience what it's like to use this weapon. It's from Capcom, so they make Monster Hunter, Wilds, World, Generations, Ultimate, all kinds of different hunting titles focused on melee weapons for the most part. So obviously, it's freaking awesome and fun to use. It can do well in terms of damage on things that aren't exposed, but you want to expose things for maximum damage. That's one of the aspects of the weapon. And some cool tips you can do if you're in space facing essentially the Decepticon-looking bot that has 2 blasters. It can beam you, it can mortar strike you. Jump in the air and slam down. You'll hit it more than 3 times on the way down. It'll be like 6 or something like that, which is pretty wild damage. If you're facing enemies that are grouped up, jump in the air, swing, and you'll hit them more than 3 times as well. You could also probably just simply dash and swing. Depends. And after you do the beam attack, by the way, I recommend either dashing or jumping. I usually spam jump because it seems to be much quicker to recover from that than simply waiting for your character to let you swing again. So there's some things you can do to maximize damage. Very fun weapon. And I would say just because of my personal enjoyment, S tier. More realistically, probably around A or B, but S tier. Decoy Generator is pure rage bait for both the enemy and the player. Send out a hologram of yourself that attracts the attention of enemies that are nearby, and they'll attack it. The thing is, they can destroy it far faster than you think, because it has health. It's not just duration, which duration is the only thing you can actually improve on this item. I'm assuming that if you're playing on higher difficulties and enemies are hitting harder, that only serves to make this item worse. It can still be useful, especially when you're playing on lower difficulties or facing enemies that don't have crazy DPS. But as you go up and increase that, from what I can tell, it falls off in terms of its impact severely. I'm facing one enemy that mows it down in 2 seconds. And even when you have it fully upgraded, it doesn't last that long to begin with. There are far better crowd control tools. This Decoy Generator is D tier. Code Generator. It sends out a malware wave that hits multiple enemies, disabling their error nodes, and spawns these light blue nodes. So if you hit them, once you complete the hack, they deal upwards of 513 damage a piece. And it just gives you more nodes to go through, which can potentially lead to more damage from hacking in general. It is freaking fun and pretty useful. It does amazing on the smaller enemies if you can do your hacks pretty quickly. And it's just one of the more whimsical and enjoyable things you can use in the game in terms of weaponry. I recommend it with the infinite ammo once you, I believe, complete Lunatic difficulty or something along those lines. It just means you can spam that, and it combines very nicely with the increased Lunafilament or Lim currency from killing enemies after you hack them, the double increase. that's earned from doing one of the rooms in the unknown signal. It's freaking awesome. I think it's A tier. It's pretty fun stuff. And one more thing. Code Generator is crazy on those lumen saucers. You hit that once, and you can just simply go to the right and straight down, killing it instantly. And if you also have the extra lumen from hacking, that gives you up to 3,000 lumen for existing. Sticky Bombs, a crossbow that fires auto-aiming Simtex grenades that shrink your hacking matrix for a short duration of time on the enemy you hit with the bombs, and they detonate once you complete a hack. They do seem to go for the arrow nodes first, although it won't remove all of them in one shot. This has terrible synergy with Code Generator, and I believe other hacking-based things. Considering you're often encouraged to hit more hacking nodes, this gets rid of them. You would assume you could populate it a lot with the Code Generator, for instance. Not the case. I believe it's D tier. Homing missiles. You can fire 2 rockets at one enemy, or hold to fire half your total rockets at that same enemy, or target multiple. I believe up to 7 if you have it completely maxed out. It does decent damage. The main issues are it has next to no ammunition. And the rockets can miss. They can hit walls and whatnot because they're kind of doing their own thing. They're trying to put on a little spectacle. I believe the main usefulness is when facing flying units. Potentially it does more damage against those fellers, but it also just hits them. But even still, you have so many better ways to deal with those guys, and you won't have to be ammo starved if you're using this. I think it's D tier. Riot Blaster fires arcing concussive rounds that knocks enemies to the floor. The bigger they are, the less time they'll spend there. And for bosses, you simply stagger them, interrupting their attacks, which can be useful to avoid damage. The actual damage output of the weapon itself can be pretty good, especially if you hack the enemy. Same thing kind of applies for heat buildup. When you hit enemies that aren't hacked, it's good. When they are hacked in this case, it's pretty substantial. And the overall radius is much more generous than you'd expect. I believe it is A tier. Stasis Net. Deploy a shocking sphere that handles everything below bosses. Mini bosses, it kind of works on, but for all the mobs, it is pretty good. They just essentially stand in place. And this makes it very easy to shoot them with anything you have and hit weak spots. Other CC tools tend to knock them on the ground. You have to get close to them, get behind them. This just puts them as they were. The only real downside is you can only have a single net active at a time. Shooting another one erases the previous that you had active, and it just goes on from there. But it is such an amazing crowd control tool. A tier. Drone Hive. You summon autonomous turrets that hit enemies for 1 damage, but if they're exposed, it's 4. Massive difference. And the main benefit is that you're constantly staggering them, which is good to avoid damage yourself, but pretty scuffed if you're trying to actually hit them in their critical spots, the faces on a lot of the enemies. It's kind of hard to do that when they're tweaking out. C tier. Impact Barrier. Fully upgraded, you can block a lot of damage, and it seems to regenerate its HP. At least in this case, it's flashing severely and then it goes away. And it lasts for a very long time in comparison to the Decoy Generator against the exact same enemy. Launch it on an enemy, it'll stun them. But if you do that, I don't believe it lasts as long as it should. Unless the Luna Digger destroyed it, in which case I didn't notice. It's pretty freaking solid though. I believe this is A tier. Grip Gun, your starting pistol. There isn't a whole lot to say. It's just a great weapon. And considering that you're running out of ammo a lot, especially if you don't have infinite ammo unlocked, this is going to be used a ton. It's got a good cadence to the shots, it feels fun to shoot, and it does pretty good damage. A tier. Pulse Carbine. Deals a lot less damage per shot, but has almost 1.5 times the bullets, and a faster fire rate. The main reason you'd bring it, though, as far as I can tell, is heat gauge buildup, which is substantial. When you overheat enemies, they sit down and give you a prompt to attack them, which teleports you to them, if you're close enough, and you do a little animation, but it dishes out 4,000 damage, 7,000 damage, varies. It's just pretty impactful. There is a downside, though, and that is the impact frames every time you land a shot, which essentially pauses and unpauses your game, and for a weapon that fires as fast as this one can, it's jarring, at least to me. Still a good gun. I believe it's B tier. If it wasn't for that stuff, I'd put it probably in A. These are the final rankings for weapons, and now on to the mods, and after that, I believe the hacking nodes and hacking modes. I would do enemies, but that would take forever. Anywho, before all that, here are some builds. The mods, the loadout, everything all in order. You can go back to this, it'll be timestamped, all that good stuff. Hacking, the hack build is freaking awesome, by the way. You can hit for 14,000 damage on a hack if you chain it multiple times. For that, though, I think I did have 2 chain mods. And again, you can keep the same mods if you get duplicates by simply hitting R and keeping the same loadout, or using your previous loadout whenever you're in your loadout menu. It's freaking sick. Attack is for weapons. Snack is essentially Luna Filament farming. You can sit there, and that's what I use to max out all my weapons and get more currency for the Lim Cannon. And the heat build is just to have some more variety and make use of the mods that I didn't say were very good, but you can still do stuff with. Hacking nodes and modes. Decode, Expose, and Chain are S tier. Decode's damage, Expose makes your hacks crit, and Chain increases your hacking damage if you simply hit the same person, I'm pretty sure, with multiple chains. And that lets you hit for 14,000 damage. I run that combination a lot. It's probably my favorite one in terms of hacking nodes. We have Multi, Confuse, and Heat in A tier. That's not a combination necessarily, but Multi is pretty sick because you can hit many enemies from very far away, and it applies everything that you've applied to one enemy, or everything in your hacking mines. That can also include your code generator. So the damage output can be pretty substantial. You only get 2 uses though. Confuse, also 2 uses, and it's freaking awesome to watch all the enemies attack each other. Heat is crazy for bosses if you're looking for any kind of mooing, or moment of opportunity rather, so the moos. It just increases their heat buildup. B tier we have Freeze and Drain. Freeze is just CC, crowd control. Drain's healing, which is cool. Don't really need it too often, although I did like it on my playthrough when I didn't know the game that well. And for the modes, in A tier we've got Offline. If you go through the symbol, it increases your hacking damage. And Combust. Combust just increases heat buildup, and that can stack up drastically. C tier we have Boost. I tried using it. I'm not sure if it's very impactful. It just doesn't seem as if it's doing anything at all. D tier we have Hybrid. You can have a mix between the offense mode and mods, or the hacking modules that increase the open duration. I don't need that though. And in F tier we have Strike. When you shoot something, you increase your hacking damage. If I'm gonna attack something with hacks, I want to see how much damage I can get with the hack itself. And if I'm shooting with my weapon, I tend to kill it. It tends to die. Anywho, on to the mods. Hardened Suit increases max HP by 10%. On the high end, that's 2200 HP, which isn't that wild. And in most cases, I'm playing on Lunatic difficulty, and I'm not getting one shot even when I have Cursed, where my HP is cut in half. You also heal for around 700 every time you pop a stim, and you can carry around 6 of those. So I don't really see the value here. Pocket Refinery. Receive 10% more Luna Filament. Doesn't seem like a wild number. I think it's just a nice buffer to have. Extended Breach. Open enemies stay exposed for 15% longer. I don't have issues with enemies not being exposed long enough. Pause. In fact, the times in which they don't get exposed as long as they should is when the boss just says, "Nah, I'm good, chief." And they have the constant close. No matter what you do, they do not open. I don't believe that actually changes anything with this equipped. Close Quarters increases attack power by 10% when within 10 meters of the enemy. No idea how far away that is, but I use the Jackhammer. I get up close with the Shockwave Gun. This is very good when your weapon is close range. And then conversely, long range targeting. 10% more attack power if the enemy is 20 meters or further away. So it's great for charge rifle and the Lim Cannon in some cases. Relay Amplifier increases hacking range by 30%. At first, I thought this was a godsend. It's so good. I gotta have it. I freaking mainlined it throughout the entirety of my playthrough, I'm pretty sure. It's not that wild. In fact, you remove it and you notice it's not changing a whole lot. Now, if you're running a primarily focused hacking build, maybe pretty good. If not, I don't think it's doing what you think it is. Overclocked Weaponry. Chargeable weapons charge 30% faster. It's good for Charge Piercer and Lim Cannon that have 3 charge stages. This is going to be pretty noticeable. Self-defense response. Reduces damage received by 20% when your HP is below 50%. It's alright, but in this game, in pretty much most cases going forward, and even still, damage or being tankier isn't that crazy because you can just kill things so fast, and the dodging, it's generous. In fact, you have a mod that it makes it even better. Skirmisher. Deal 10% more weapon or hacking damage against downed or immobilized enemies. That's cool, but that 10% isn't high enough to justify how infrequently you'll actually get the bonus for this to be active. Now, you can run it with things that increase your heat buildup, that thus knock enemies down more often, but still. Collateral damage. You could actually combo this with the previous one and the heat buildup, but this makes it to where 30% of critical shot damage spreads to nearby enemies. It says critical shot. Pretty sure that only refers to whenever you get up close and do the button prompt when an enemy is overheated. So it's going to transfer that damage to enemies around you. It's not transferring your weak spot damage. It's not doing that. It's whenever you do the attack, you get up close, animation plays, you blast them, press on. So if you're spamming that a lot, you have a heat build going, this could be pretty neat. I didn't really do that too often. It's all right. It'd mostly be beneficial if you're facing a bunch of these smaller dudes in a very compact room, because in that critical animation, you're immune to damage. So that could be the main benefit there. Recursive learning. Increases hacking gauge buildup by 15% when successfully completing a hack. Can be very good if you're running a full-on hacking build. If not, take it or leave it. Aggressive defense. Reduces damage received by 20% while aiming your weapon with the right click, or if you're just having the hacking menu open. You're going to have that open, at least I did, the majority of the game. So if you're looking for any defense whatsoever that's full-on defense, this is the mod you go for. Because it's 20%, that's hefty, and that can be active the entire time you're playing the game for the most part. Even when you're dodging, I believe. Cheap shot. Increases attack power by 15% when attacking enemies from the back. I mean, that sounds good, but there's a lot of weak spots that are better to go for from the front. So that's why I didn't really rock it too much. 15% is a bit enticing because it's 5% more than the usual damage increase. Precision shot. Activating fast moves successfully starts a period of slow time where weapon damage increases by 10%. I tried to get it to work, and I believe it legit means the window in which you're slowed down more is when damage increases. And if that's the case, it's just flat out not worth it. Because 10% is the same as basically every other damage increase, and the other ones are active the entire time. Or you can do stuff to make them active the entire time. This is only when you're dodging. If it was a window in which it was active and not just like if it was a buff that was activated for, let's say, 20 seconds, that could be good. We could be working with something, but it's not. Quick fix. Increases the use speed of repair cartridges, I call them stems, and boosts their effectiveness by 10%. I don't think that's necessary at all, because you can use those very quickly, and the moment you're done actually using it, just dodge. Just dash. And you can use another one. You can create distance and perpetually heal, and the healing itself is very strong. Hyper focus. Direct hits from enemies no longer reset the hacking matrix. Are we being super duper serious right now? You don't need that. I don't think you need that. If you get hit, you get hit. You press on. Sacrificing an entire mod slot for that is criminal. Optimal performance. When HP is full, attack power increases by 10%. I mean, kind of godlike. What can we say? Will you get hit? I do. And I still use this a lot. But I don't get hit that often, I wouldn't say. You can just heal so much. And I'm also running a different mod that makes it so healing is going to be pretty more gooder, if you will. So this is going to get a bunch of active time. And you heal every time you go back to the shelter. You heal a lot, man. Performance boost. Increases hacking node duration by 20%. Even in a hacking build, I don't think that's a big deal. Hacking node duration? That'd be useful for confuse, perchance. I prefer things that just increase the damage, or maybe had a chance, like a RNG aspect that has it hit multiple times. That'd be sick. Equilibrium. Successfully activating EC thrusters restores 10% HP. You have to get hit first, and then you activate this at the right time to dash out of it. 10% HP heal. Tight. Analog aggression. Increases weapon damage by 10%, but hacking damage decreases by 10%. If you're going for weapon build, you rock that. And if you're going for a hacking build, you rock digital dominance, which is the exact opposite. And if you're a genius like me, you have the brief thought you can run both of them and cancel out the negatives, but only have the benefits, only to realize that's not how math works, unfortunately. So don't rock them both at the same time unless you're wicked. Nice nodes. Increases hacking node drop rate from enemies by 10%. 10% isn't high enough. It's just not. And by the way, when I'm saying this stuff, I'm not saying the devs have to buff it. I'm just, speaking somewhat passionately. The game's very fun. But that does not make me want to use it, because 10% does not justify the already pretty low drop rate for the nodes to begin with. And let's say it's a node a node you're not even looking for. You're wasting an entire mod slot for that. You can just instead go into a mission that has the pre-spawned nodes themselves and pick it up and have multiple of the exact same node you're looking for and do wacky stuff there and go back to shelter to replenish them, versus wasting a mod slot for that. Eagle Eye. Increases attack power by 15% while airborne. I tried using this with the Jackhammer, and it works if you're jumping in the air constantly, but the brunt of that damage for the weapon, even still, is mostly from the actual beam attack on the ground. So unless you're going to sit there and jump every time you fire, which could work for the burst weapons, such as Charge Piercer, Lim Cannon, I don't know. Which, honestly, for those weapons, I do be in the air a lot, so that's better than I expected in hindsight. Synaptic response. During fast moves, ready your weapon to spend a small amount of hacking gauge and initiate an auto hack. I am an avid auto hack hater. I don't have anything against players that use it. It's just not for me. I don't like it at all. Economize. Last shot with a non-primary unit may not break the weapon. The activation chance decreases over time. I've used it 3 times, and every time it didn't work. Didn't activate, and so I figured, why would I put my fate in another mod slot that just doesn't do anything, or has a very high chance of not doing anything? So I scrapped it. You could combine it with the next one, which is what I tried doing, but it didn't work, and that's Last Resort. The last shot of a non-primary unit deals 50% more damage. So it can't be your pistol or pulse rifle, but this can freaking crack out everything but Lim Cannon as well. And it does also work on the Jackhammer, which is pretty cool. This becomes more difficult to use, though, when you have increased ammunition. 7 shots for most weapons, up 8, goes even higher. So that just creates more tediousness. Reinforced casing. Reduces damage received by 20% for 20 seconds after using a repair cartridge. That's actually pretty cool. But, I just prefer the reduced damage for aiming in. Untapped potential. For 15 seconds, hacking node usage increases attack power by 10% and damage taken is reduced by 10%. That's pretty good. I'm fairly certain that is active. Actually, you can tell it's active. You can see it's active, an icon on your character, and that triggers every time you hack. It's freaking that's the business. Free damage reduction for playing the game normally, essentially. Heat transfer. Enemy heat gauges fill 10% faster, causing enemies to be downed more quickly, and you can go for a critical hit, which combines with other stuff. It's okay, 10%. It does add up when you combine all of the things that can contribute to heat buildup in your build itself. So it's neat. Cursed. Increases weapon and hacking damage by 20%, but reduces HP by 50%. Dude, I used that pretty much the vast majority of time I spent playing the game. I think only in my first playthrough when I fought the last boss did I swap off of it because I kept getting smoked, but I also didn't know about the dodge. The ability to buy the whatever lets you actually dodge attacks, I didn't know you had to buy it. So I was playing the game on turbo hard difficulty for no reason. And even still, I freaking mainline this thing. It's just so powerful. So freaking good. This is Discipline plus Rage from Dauntless. Big fan. Adrenaline Flood. When HP is below 25%, attack power increases by 20%. Sounds cool, it sounds good, but why would I use that when it's the same damage increase, and I don't believe it affects your hacking power. It doesn't say, at least. Whenever I can just do the other one and not have to deal with getting a low constantly, because again, you heal every time you go back to the shelter. And with the Cursed, I can just be full HP, survive things that would otherwise one-shot me if I'm missing more HP. So it's just a safer pick, and you get the same damage, if not more. Faster moves. Extends fast moves timing window by 20%. That's what you need, not this mod, but you need fast moves to actually dodge attacks. And increasing the window to hit it correctly could be awesome for folks that want to learn the timing. But at the same time, if you use this, it'll mess up your timing. So I think it's useful if you don't want to actually learn to dodge properly. But maybe it's more like training wheels. So I don't know how to really judge it in that sense. I do think it's powerful because it just makes it way easier to time your dodges, even though you're timing it incorrectly. Target weakness. Increases weapon damage to weak points by 15%. Hefty damage. Big. It's because normally it's 10% damage increase for stuff. That's 15. And all you have to do is hit their weak spots, which I believe applies to their head normally, or their exposed core. You hit those when they're actually exposed, bigger damage. Critical response. Now we're getting into stuff, I believe, in which you have to unlock it through the unknown signal rooms. Gunfire on open enemies increases hacking damage by 20%, only effective in certain hacking modes. I respect the vision. I'm in this weird state where if I'm hacking something, if I'm going for a hacking build to hack stuff and do more damage, I just want to hack. I don't want to sit there and fire and then hack, because it's difficult to do that on mouse and keyboard. I'm using this to hack, so I can't aim at the same time. It's just not possible with the way I have the thing set up. So I don't F with that at all, me personally. But 20% is a lot. Sympathetic hacking. Successfully hacking instantly reloads your primary unit. If the pulse rifle didn't send you into a shock of visual despair, with like all the constant pause, unpause nonsense, this could be pretty useful for that, to also rock a overheat build. Which it could still be fantastic if you like that stuff. I didn't love the way that gun feels to shoot, and that's the main thing I use it for, because the pistol, it can still be good for that too. Not as much of an allure to it, if you will. Better lucky. Chance to nullify damage. Success drops with consecutive uses, but resets when hit. I didn't test that. Listen, if I get hit, I'm a heal. I have 6, if not more, healing stems. I'm chilling. Cyber Thief. This is the business. Defeating enemies via hacking doubles the amount of dropped lunafilament. Like, bro, double the amount? Fairly certain it applies to bosses. I had the first boss drop 6,000 lunafilament. I think normally it's 3,000. So that's pretty freaking sick. It doesn't work on the Luna Digger because it makes you go for a critical hit to kill it, which is messed up. But aside from that, you can pretty much do that to every single enemy. You can use the code gun, the code generator, and the ticks from that do count as hacks. So you can make some bank, and that's how I bought out and upgraded all my stuff. Grace. Hacking gauge gradually regenerates over time. It's actually quite substantial. I saw it and I thought to myself, that's nice. And then I saw what it did, and I thought, that's kind of crazy how quickly it generates. And once you get the overcharge too, dude, freaking godlike. Slow down. Slows time while hacking a locked on target. Press V while holding your aim and press the button it says when you're aimed in with the hack to activate. Consumes hacking gauge. It's not that hungry when it comes to the hacking gauge. So you can do this pretty much perpetually, especially if you start combining these two mods with, whatchamacallit, recursive learning. Porky Pig, go away. Where you increase your hacking gauge buildup when you successfully hack enemies. Like, dude, this gets to be problematic. And it makes for one of the most fun hacking builds, if not the most fun hacking build of sorts that you can have in the game. It is freaking sick. And the last mod, I have to go back in the footage and check out what it did because I'm not done with Unknown Signal on my second playthrough, which it didn't even count as my achievement. I beat it. It shows I beat it, and it didn't give me the achievement. Unfortunately, I'm a 2+2 not knowing what it is mother lucker. Black box is what turns the final boss on Unknown Signal into the orange advanced version you have to defeat to then get the achievement. I didn't know that. When I first fought it, I had it equipped, and I was wondering why I got mopped, and I unequipped it, and I assumed that Black Box broke it. Not the case. So I did Unknown Signal twice. All the freaking 10 side objective things twice. Full cleared it, more or less, twice. Moral of the story, equip Black Box if you're on Unknown Signal. Well, actually, you can only get it that way. Equip this, fight the final boss, get the achievement. I'm putting it F tier just because it ticked me off, bro. I wasted so much time. You have no idea. Unreal. Anywho, these are my tier lists. Hopefully it was a good video. It's definitely a random thing. I didn't really set out to make it for this game, but I liked it a lot. I freaking invested 30-something hours, so I figured I may as well make something for it and share my thoughts. So thank y'all for watching. That's the end of the video. And have a good day.